Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shauna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Well, hello everyone and welcome back. Welcome back. Today I'm introducing you to a new friend, Angela, and I'm so excited to learn about her business and introduce her to all of you. But Angela, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
It is. I love meeting new people, and this is one of my favorite parts of this podcast is getting to highlight women and their businesses and their start again moments. So with that, let's jump right in. And if you wouldn't mind giving my audience a brief little intro, kind of who you are, tell us a little bit about your business, but specifically, how have you embraced this idea of starting again?
Okay, thank you. My name is Angela Ferdig. I live in Woodland Hills, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. My business is Be Initial Creative, which is a design firm. I do everything from logos to pitch decks, websites, letterhead, things like that, branding. Let's see, a little bit of my background. I was a former pro athlete, mother of two, born in Colombia, raised in South Florida, and then came to Los Angeles about 20 years ago. So I feel like I've experienced a lot in the U.S. and seen the demographic, the Latin demographic, both from the perspective of an American and understanding Latin American markets, and also in Latin American market and trying to expand into the American market, or vice versa. Let's see, how am I embracing starting over again? Well, 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to partner to launch a line with Target. And I remember just being overwhelmed. I had just had a daughter. She was a week old.
Oh, gosh.
And in a difficult marriage, which I didn't know it felt it, but didn't quite know it at the time. And I remember then saying, I am going to have to let go of something, and it's going to have to be my business, because I can relaunch a business when I'm 50, but I cannot relaunch my daughter's life when she's 10. Yeah. So I remember saying that very kind of cavalierly.
Yeah.
And now here I am 10 years later going, okay, let's hit the ground running and do exactly what I said I was going to do. Yeah. I think with everything that I've been through in the past 10 years, I keep going back to that phrase of life is what's happening for you, not to you. And I will say that as much as the pain that I've gone through, I've also had major epiphanies that never would have come if it wasn't for the experience. Like life-changing, altering, complete change of perspective for life. So now I'm taking that, and I think I've had some success along the line, and now I'm excited to approach launching a business, not my first business that I've launched, but I'm getting to relaunch it with a whole different set of confidence and perspective, and a different view of myself, which changes how I view the world too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it was incredibly insightful for you to know 10 years ago, you can always start a new business, because there's a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people who are listening who might be struggling to think they can even possibly start one new business. And you thought, oh, I can always do that, which is incredibly insightful and also inspirational, I think, which leads me to my next question. So when you look back at this story of yours and the journey that you've gone on, what inspires you most about your story?
The fact that I've been able to get back up again, and in a very kind of different way, because so being a pro athlete, I was groomed to, fear, lack of confidence, insecurity. Those are words that you don't even contemplate or look at or anything like that. It's always about going for what are you doing? Every day is you have a to-do list, you have an objective, you have goals. But when you're in the middle of trauma, you can't even put one foot in front of the other. And the way that I got up was to finally one day say, I need to stop comparing myself to everyone else and what they're doing. And my here and now is this is where I am, and the couch is as far as I can go.
Yep.
And the reason why I found out later was when you are having those moments, it's because your body is protecting you, protecting your mind. And you have to be okay where you are. And then all of a sudden, like one day you'll be like, okay, I'm good. and I'm ready to take that first step. And
Mhm.
then once you do, it's not like what you see in the movies where like you take a step and then you're off running and then, next montage, you're winning something major.
Mhm.
It's just the everyday of like, I got through one thing, I got through three things, I got through five, I got through 10, I got through 15, and it's this momentum that builds upon itself. So I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that I was able to admit this is where I am. I mean, no one wants to admit that at 50 they're broken, not doing well, and not launching the career that they had, not married to the person they thought they were
Mhm.
marrying, all of that. And then when you kind of focus inward and you go, okay, I'm here. Who cares what the rest of the world is doing?
Yep.
Then from there, you find your power. And I think that's what I'm most proud of, is being able to be comfortable with failure, quote unquote,
Mhm.
and change and pivot and then take flight. And that throughout all of that, my daughter's mental health was my major priority, and she's thriving.
That's amazing. And no small feat, as you know.
Yeah, no, it's no, so especially, I think anyone who's a parent and has had teenagers or preteens during COVID knows
Oh, yes.
that it
Yes.
has been, that's another dose. It's like you've got the teenage years and then, hey, let's throw in a
A
pandemic to
worldwide
make
pandemic.
to make parenting even easier, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I actually have 4 children and ranging in age from 10 to 29.
Oh,
And so I've done the teenage years. I've start to finish done all of the parenting years. And now I'm doing it again.
yeah.
But yes, to parent during the pandemic was a special challenge. When I wrote my book, the goal for me was to touch women at the point in their lives where the trauma had happened. You have come out of the divorce, whatever that looked like,
Uh-huh.
and you're ready to take your first step forward. And I always say baby steps are better than no steps. And you're right.
Yes.
Some days just getting to the couch is your goal. Whatever your goal is for the day, just take the one step that you need to get closer to wherever it is that you're trying to go. But my goal with that book was to kind of empower women to be able to show up for the people in their life. And in a lot of cases, that's your children.
Mhm.
When you feel broken and you feel like you're not the best version of yourself, and how the hell do you still show up and help your children have the best experience that they can through whatever the circumstances are that you're looking at? So anyways, I love that you were able to do that for yourself and your daughter, because it is no small feat to put our children's needs ahead of our own when we feel like broken.
Right. No, it's incredibly hard. But I read a story, like it was, I guess, at the beginning of when I was going through the most traumatic part of everything. It was an excerpt from a woman's book. It was told from her perspective of her childhood. And she said that one of the best moments that she remembers, the happiest moments in her childhood, were these picnic dinners that her mom used to make for her and her siblings. And a year before her mother passing, she found out that those were the dinners when her mom was broke and had no
Mhm.
money to do a complete dinner. So she would kind of like put this mishmash of stuff on a picnic blanket in front of the TV, and that was their dinners.
Dinner.
And that
Mhm.
gave me, yeah, incredible insight that what our perspective of our struggles is a very different perspective than what our children see. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's a matter of presenting it different. So her mom probably felt terrible about dinner
Yep.
on the floor on a blanket,
Yeah.
but yet it became fun. And it's just, I find that so fascinating that, we go through experiences either as children or as parents, and yet we're having completely different reactions to it.
Mhm.
And as a parent, you can package that into something fun and different. Not that you have to, I'm just, because that's sometimes a burden that we mothers feel.
Oh, for sure. Everything has to be an adventure and super fun. And no, it doesn't. Sometimes just, I have a similar story. It's not as fun and creative as that mom's story. But
Hmm.
Friday nights for me, when I was at the peak of corporate America, single mom working stress, Friday nights, by the time I got to Friday, I was just like, oh my God, I made it. Like that was my goal. And so we
Right.
started doing family movie night. And my kids thought it was the best thing ever. Like, oh, what are we going to watch? No, it was my reason to sit on the couch and do nothing, to throw on a movie so I didn't have to entertain them and not cook dinner. And I could just sit there and relax and veg out on my phone and drink some wine while they watched a movie. And to them, it was this great experience and this tradition that I had created. And it was really just me getting a break.
That is amazing. I love stuff like that because it's like instead of trying to be so perfect, you just try to
No,
be
and it
normal.
be normal. And yeah. And I think, yes, it's how you spin it usually. That is the make or break. But I think what I find most inspiring when I meet all these different women who have started these businesses is it's despite what's going on in our personal life. And no matter the struggles, we all have the struggles and we experience things that we wouldn't have chosen, but it makes us who we are. And the fact that you're able to say, okay, now's the time I'm going to start this business and kind of pull on all of your experiences and use that to propel you forward, I think is amazing.
Well, part of that is I'm at an age where I think most people, well, I know most companies are not going to hire someone who's older. And the thing is that, companies serve other big companies, but not necessarily the startup. Not necessarily. And I see that with a lot of women that I work with that are starting their
Mhm.
companies is that they get overwhelmed with like the branding and the design and the logo. And sometimes it's good
Yes.
just to work with a one-on-one or one-on-two and know that someone who's just has the experience. And also I mean, I try to be as technically savvy and to roll with the different technology,
Hmm.
but not everyone is comfortable with that. But it's nice for
Yep.
people to work with someone who's of their same age and who says, "No, I got you. Like, let me pare it down for you very a lot easier." So I've tried to find my niche, and I guess always is taking what I know and sharing my experiences or sharing my knowledge and what I love. Bottom line about what I do is that I get to work with people who have a vision for their companies and their dreams and what they want to do, and I get to help them make that even easier, faster,
Hmm.
getting to
Hmm.
like doing the right logo, hitting the right target demographic, asking the right questions about, who they want to land to and how they want to speak to their target audience. Those are the things that I love facilitating someone else's dream. And
Hmm.
that's my happy place.
That is awesome. And so, as long as we are talking about your niche, who is your target audience? Who's your ideal client?
Well, I've got one ideal client right now that's actually a law firm. And what I love about them is that they treat their employees really kindly. I've done headshots and stuff for various different companies, and this one particular law firm is just lovely. So they're in the process of growing, and they're appreciative of the work that I do. They are open to me coming to them with ideas. Um, a law firm, a lot of them are stuck in that thing of like they still need to be very traditional and very
Hmm.
conservative, but at the same time they have to branch into technology and do be on Instagram. But how do you do social media in a polished way that doesn't take away from that
Yeah.
institutional, trusted kind of way? So I guess my favorite client is one that gives me creative control.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But you know what? In everything that I've worked with, and every client that I've had, within 2 months of me working with them, every client has said, "Do what you want creatively," because I try to listen to people really well,
Hmm.
and so when I'm able to hit their demands or their needs before they even know that they have them, then they start to. So the creative aspect is great. That's always wonderful. I love working with startups. I love working with women entrepreneurs. So I would say, I mean, let's see. Yeah, a startup, like an individual trying to branch out into a new business, always wonderful and great because I like working
Hmm.
with headshots and designing their logos and things like that from scratch. To companies that are established and are trying to break into a little bit different of a market or trying to figure out how to be relevant while still being respected and trusted.
Yeah, which is a little bit of rebranding, right? When you're trying to reach a new audience or change up your image a little bit. I think all of those have a creative element. Like I don't know about you, but for me, I'm the happiest when I'm able to create something and able
Yes.
to, you know, I like to say I'm leaving the world prettier than I found it, whether that's, sewing curtains or helping a woman rebuild her life after divorce. Like both of those leave whatever space I was in prettier than before I walked in.
Yes. And then sometimes the prettier isn't just necessarily the look of it, but how people
Yeah,
feel when
a
they're around
hundred
it. And
percent.
that's
Yes. Well,
And
that goes back
that's,
to that saying that you hear, people will never remember what you said, they'll remember how
yes,
you made them feel.
I
Yeah.
love that quote. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
so good. So when you think back on your journey,
Mhm.
we're always learning lessons. And like you said, quote unquote, failures, not failures. I look at them as lessons. And
Yes.
what do you think is the common theme in each of your lessons?
That perspective is everything.
Mm, that's
Absolutely
good.
everything. I mean, and I know it's a pretty common thing, but so I tend to be a little bit on the negative side. So I've really had to reshift my day to day.
Hmm.
A prime example came just recently. I went to my daughter's fifth grade graduation, and I ended up because I'm a photographer. Of course, I want to capture the moment, so I'm taking my camera gear with me.
Sure.
And I wasn't able to get her flowers because I can't do flowers and carry the camera gear and try to get a seat and blah, 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 right? And so then I
Oh,
went
yeah,
to the
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
entrance and I found myself, I'm like at the back of the line, and I've seen all these families, the husband and wife together with their other siblings, and they're standing at the front of the line, and dad has the flowers and mom has something else. And I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
yeah, that's something.
Yes.
So I'm standing there going, just kind of miserable going, I'm here by myself, blah, blah, blah. And then I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah, yeah.
wait a minute. I'm here alone finally by
Yes.
myself, no
Yes.
drama. It was like it was like I just got lighter. I got happier. I was like, this is perfect. I'm here. I struggled for 3 years to be here alone, and here I am. And then
Yeah.
when I walked in, guess what? There was an open seat in the second row, perfect where I needed to be to capture my daughter
I
perfectly.
love it.
So
I love it.
perspective is everything. And I've been at the point of like waking up and being like nothing seems great, but when you really see life through the lens of this is great, this is what I, and quite often a lot of it is that we forget the things that we wished for and then ended up coming into our lives.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So that is my big thing is perspective is everything. It changes completely.
Yes. Well, and you're saying the same thing I say in different words, which I love, because I'm always saying you just have to change the story you're telling yourself.
Yes,
But
yes,
it's all about your perspective. Do
yes,
you have to do this thing or do you get to do this thing? Like
yes,
it's all the story that you tell yourself.
yes,
And and you're right, it's a shift in perspective on the way you're viewing the situation. And it is everything. It is everything. And I had a similar situation. I've been the, oh my God, I don't want him here with me person,
yeah,
married to a man I didn't want to be married to. And then there by myself and trying to do all the things. And then just recently, my daughter's going into fifth grade. So we don't do graduation until next year.
uh-huh.
But she had a performance and I was doing good to just get there. And I got the seat up front. And then I realized, oh shit, I wanted to be like 3 rows closer. And then her dad comes and he's carrying the flowers. And I had a moment where I thought, oh my God, he remembered the flowers and I forgot the flowers. And then I was like, no, no, I didn't have to bring the flowers and she still got them. It didn't matter who brought
Yes,
them to her. She still got the flowers and he like filled this gap. And, we're divorced. And here he was sitting with me and my children and my boyfriend. And I thought, oh my gosh, not getting something I had prayed for years ago is actually quite a bit better than I could have imagined.
right,
All how you look at
right,
it. That's all how
yep,
you view the situation. Yeah.
yeah. And I
I
and
love
then
that.
the more you appreciate where you are, of course, the more goodness that opens up in your life. And that is another thing that I've really
Yes.
had to faithfully believe. And I'm starting to see it big time in my life that the more I just light and happy, like I used to go into yoga and they say, set your mantra. And I would always go, okay, that I get, a deeper stretch. And now it's light and happy. I just want to
Light
be
and
light and
happy.
happy.
Yes. I love that. Light and happy. Yes. Yeah, I've been in both of those places, but yes, I think it all comes back to gratitude for, again, the perspective and the shift in the way you're looking at it. But when you can be grateful for what you do have and what you do get to do, it opens up the seat that was in the perfect place for you to get the great photos.
And I know it's hard when you're in the middle of something difficult and you're without and you're struggling. I know it's
Oh,
really
sure.
hard. It's super hard, but you also have I mean, there isn't a day that I don't wake up and go, I can get up. I can get up out of my bed. I know there's people at our age that cannot for whatever
Mm-hmm.
reasons. And I'm grateful for that. And we forget those things that we take for granted. I can breathe
Yeah.
easy. I mean, I've been through, illnesses where A lot of us, I think, recently through COVID, where you can't breathe, we're worried about our health. So when you start with those things, it's amazing how other things come into play and come into your life, and it attracts more of that goodness. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I remember hearing this very exact advice long ago and being in a bad place and going, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what are they talking about? Of course
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they're like, look at
How
that
easy for
bag.
you to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how easy for you to say with that awesome bag you've got sitting next to you. But now
Uh-huh.
I realize that those things don't matter.
Yeah,
When your health is not with you and your just the basic things are not with you, then you forget. But everything is. You can find the points of gratitude.
for sure. For sure. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to, because I talk a lot about gratitude, and I think it's a skill we have to practice. We're not
Yes.
conditioned in this society to be
Yes.
grateful. We're conditioned to look for what's missing and what's wrong and be critical
Yes.
and lack based thinking and all of that. So it is a skill to be grateful that you have to practice
Yes.
over and over and over again. And then the more you do it, the better you get at it, because it's the law of attraction, essentially, because the more you focus on good things, the more good things are going to come to you. So it's like this positive momentum goodness train that you get on, but you have to practice in the beginning because it's hard.
It is. It is. And I did not grow up in a family that was, all praise and good. And
Yes, I don't think any of us did. Yes.
yeah. So, I mean, I know a few people that like, I had a girlfriend growing up when I played on the tennis tour that we would be in the worst places. And she was like, isn't this fantastic? And I'm like, I don't know what room you're sitting in.
Ah.
And then, and I see her life, and she's had so much good stuff happen to her. And I
Mhm.
think yeah, absolutely. It all comes down to perspective, and
Yes,
I
it
don't mean to
does.
make it sound cliche, but it really does affect.
Well, the things that are cliche are for a reason because there's truth in them. But
Yes.
when you, speaking of cliches, because this is what sometimes comes out of this next question, when you look back to the younger you, what advice would you give her?
Oh, pick the people around you very wisely. It's
Oh,
better to
yes.
be unmarried than to be married to the wrong person.
Oh, that's a good
Um,
one.
it
That's a life
is.
lesson right there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we've come out of a different generation where it was like such a big focus or such a big thing, but today I think
Hmm.
a lot of the young girls would rather not be married or have different a mindset about partnering. But that partnering for life is like partnering for a business. You have got to
Mm,
be around someone who look for someone who's got different talents or skill sets or whatever, but someone who's constantly trying to you're building each other up, not
hmm.
someone who's going to tear you down. Yeah, I lost this opportunity to target because of not having that proper person beside me that could have empowered a very amazing opportunity.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then the
Yeah.
girlfriends you have around you, the people that you have around you, definitely it's a huge, huge aspect. I had to do a 180 shift in the people in my life. It
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily a shift. Well, there was a shift within me, and then all of a sudden these people around me started dropping like flies. Like
Yes.
I wasn't the right target for them anymore. I wasn't fulfilling something for them.
Yeah, yeah, because when your vibration changes, who you attract changes. So that is very typical after I would say any major life change.
Yeah.
I tend to focus a lot on divorce just because that's what I've built my business on. But I think any life event changes your vibration. It changes how you're viewing things, your perspective, and ultimately who you're showing up as in the world. And by default, who you're attracting at that point will change as well. And again, it goes back to our idea of gratitude, because in the moment you can look at it and be like, oh my gosh, why am I not friends with these people anymore? And why don't they, you take it to personally and you're focused on what's
Right.
missing instead of, oh, I'm opening up space for new and better relationships or new and better friendships. It's all how you look at it.
Absolutely. It does open up. And then the other thing is that when you have major shifts in your life or difficult things happening in your life, it allows you to see who's really stick worthy and who is
Hmm.
going to slide right off. And that I have to say is the biggest blessing, because I definitely don't want to try to be creating new friendships at 70 or 80. I'm hoping that by then I've got my established core.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and it reveals a lot of people's inner strengths and where they belong in your life.
it does. So When you look forward and kind of what is next for you and where you're going, what do you now believe is possible for your own life?
Okay, I believe that anything is possible. And I have to say that, again, very cliche, but I have very vivid memories of my childhood when I was 2 and 3 years old.
Mm,
We immigrated to the US at 3. So they say that when you're that young and you can recall so many things, it's because there was a trauma that happened at that time. And so, I
hmm
mean, leaving a world that I came from South America to here and how that impacted my mother and my father, I mean, that was a big thing. So, like, I have memories of meeting up with my father again, who came to the US a year earlier than my mother and I to establish himself here for us. I remember the day that I saw him at the train station once again, because he was my rock, he was my
hmm
foundation. And so to lose him for a year was really hard for me. I remember that day vividly. I remember the day that we left South America vividly, Colombia vividly. I remember just some things, but I also remember who I was back then. I remember this feeling that I was special, that I had special
mm,
gifts, not above and beyond anyone else, but it was my special gifts to also be happy and light around other people around me.
hmm
And I remember I remember being like a gift from God. I remember being like having all these feelings. And then throughout my childhood, those beliefs started getting knocked out of me
hmm
one by one by various people, intentionally or unintentionally. Those things
Oh,
started
yeah.
to go away. And I also did not grow up in that family hearing that parent say, you can be anything that you want to be if you
Yeah.
just put your mind to it. Like that was all my childhood.
Yeah.
And now I'm telling myself, I literally anything that I want to do now, it's possible.
Yep.
I now looking back, hindsight's 2020. I look back and
hmm
I see where my lack of confidence didn't allow me to nail some things in different places
hmm
and reach that next level. So now I'm at the point of going, I have my new mindset. I'm going back to that 2 and 3 year old who had utter confidence and belief in herself and just was happy and light.
hmm
And now I'm back to that, but with a bunch of experience behind me and
Oh my
knowledge.
gosh, yes.
And so now I'm ready to take off and roll. And I think the other aspect of that is that my daughters have watched me go through all this. And
hmm
so I don't wish my experience on anyone, but I do see that the people who I love the most and I find to be most interesting are those who have gone through something that have tumbled them around for a bit.
hmm
And I hope that my daughters do go through something, but knowing that they have resilience and the ropes and the like I think of life's big disappointments or the failures as these holes that we fall into. And the holes are
Oh,
going to
that's
be,
a good analogy.
yeah, the holes are going to be there because the terrain is full of them.
Yep.
And you've either learned to skillfully go around them, or if you fall in, you want to have as many ropes, so as many skill sets and talents to pull yourself out. That is my goal in life is to give my daughters as many ropes, and my story is one of them. That you
hmm
can bounce back and you can pull yourself back up.
Well, see, that is like the most beautiful example of it's all how you view the situation that either empowers you or disempowers you. Because
Yes.
a lot of people could look at a challenging story and think, oh my gosh, this didn't work out and how, what it, it means something terrible about me. But to be able to take it and go, no, 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 I'm going to provide an example to my kids so they know what it looks like to get back up when you've been knocked down. And
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
So my last question for you
Uh-huh.
is, how can people find you?
So I am at bienhechocreative.com, which bienhecho means well done, well made in Spanish. You can find me on Instagram as well at bienhecho or at Angela Ferdig. The one thing that got me out of all this is that I've always loved to cook. So throughout, I've stuck to my cooking. It's like my kitchen is my zen. And then I started recording some of the videos of me making stuff. And so those are on my Instagram and they're on TikTok and as Angela Fertig. I do the TikTok ones with my 11-year-old daughter
That's
because
amazing.
that's so not my demographic. But, you know, I do have clients that do want to be there. So it needs to become my demographic. So
hmm
yeah,
hmm
TikTok and Instagram and Facebook Reels at Angela Fertig.
Okay, that's perfect. And I will definitely link all of that in the show notes so people can go click on easily and find you. Yeah, I haven't ventured into TikTok myself. I'm technically there, but only from a voyeur perspective to keep an eye on what my children are doing. I'm not there like actively.
Well, my 10-year-old's the one that will do this like 2-second thing and then have 10,000 views. And I'm like, what just happened? You spent
What
like
just
15,
happened?
you just put 15 seconds effort into that. And it's different than Facebook Reels or Instagram. And
Oh, for sure.
then that's another thing that I learned throughout this whole process, that I'm not shooting for perfection anymore. I'm just doing it. I'm altering. And that's the best advice that I give
Yes.
for anyone going into social media. It's not about landing this perfect reel. It's not about landing. Just do and tweak it as you go along. Learn with every reel that you post up. Delete the ones after a while that you feel your quality wasn't where it needed to be. But you need to just start just do. And if you watch a lot of like I like watching Dax Shepard's podcasts, and listen to some of his earlier stuff, you realize that a lot of the people that have big impact in the world, that's what they do. They just start, and they don't care
Mm-hmm.
about like not nailing it at the beginning. You eventually do.
Yeah. Because it's all about imperfect action. It's just do the damn thing. Don't wait till you're ready. Jump in and fuck it up along the way, and then
Yes.
figure it out as you go. I heard recently I follow all of these entrepreneurs on social media and all the places, and I think it was a podcast, but she basically said, stop treating your business like a soap opera. Treat it like a science experiment, because it's all about trial and error, testing, gather some data, test again until you
Yes.
find what works.
Yes.
Instead of this soap opera that, so many of us want to make it out to be, this means something about me, or what, I haven't found the hidden meaning and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, it's not a soap opera. Remove the emotion, science experiment. And I think that has been a game changer for me, to be like, all right, we're just testing. We're just
Yeah.
gathering new data, and just do it.
Just do it. And the beauty of social media is that you get to do it without a big investment. It's not like you're launching an ad campaign. It's not like you're investing a bunch
Yes.
of money into, materials and peripherals and folders and stuff. You just have your social media and you're putting it out there, and
Yeah.
you see how it works. I mean, everything from changing, the background music to the font on something. Something is those tweaks and changes. And that's the one thing that I tell my clients all the time. If you can roll with it, if you're okay, that's how we're going to land this better, is if
Mm-hmm.
you're okay with just get stuff out there,
Yeah.
and let's tweak and adjust. And that's the mindset of the young. That's the youthful
Yes.
mindset.
Yes.
They're just, they jump and then think.
Yes. Yes. Well, and people from my generation and before, it was all about think and prepare and plan, and it was aspiring to be perfect. And it's not, perfection is not the goal. Like, making progress is the goal. So
Yes.
I did a weight loss thing, and their mantra was progress over perfection. Like, you're not looking to be perfect, you're looking to make progress, because that's getting you closer. It goes back to the whole baby steps is better than no steps. Like, you're just looking to be better off tomorrow than you are today. That's it.
Absolutely. That is much better. And there's an experiment that they did in this art school, where they gave half the class the objective to make as much art as possible throughout the semester, do as much.
Mm,
And the other one was, you need to submit, because at the end of the year they would pick their best piece. And the other group was, you need to submit your best piece. And the
mm,
best products, the most creative, the most innovative, came out of the ones who they just said, just create as much as possible,
hmm.
because it's in that process that you really hone in to where you want to land. And
Yeah.
sometimes your objective changes as you're in the process, your direction changes. And if you're comfortable with the flow,
Yes.
then you're fine.
Well, yeah, because that hits on two different things. One is, like, you look at any professional athlete, and the way they got there was practice, 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 and doing it over and over and over again. And of course, there's visualization and all the things, but practice means you have to do it a lot. And so, this
Mhm.
whole idea of getting out there and just creating a bunch of art is, you're practicing your skill. You're getting better because you're just doing. Like, I think it comes back to us shifting the perspective, and what is the goal? Well, the goal is just to do it, and do it often, and don't be afraid of messing up. And I mean, Nike said it best, just do it.
Just do it. Just get out there and do it. And the thing is that you also will meet people along the way who help you with the stuff that you're
Oh,
working on.
yes.
And so they're not going to know that you need help or that you're working on something if you don't put it out there.
Yeah.
If you don't, if just get the website up, and then someone will
Yes.
come along and say, hey, it would be best if you did this or try doing that, but if you don't get the website up, then you're never going to get the feedback on how to make it better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so good. That's so true. Amazing. Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming and spending time with me today. Thank you for introducing yourself to my audience and being with me today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And thanks so much for today. This is fun.
Super fun. Okay, listen. Are you struggling to find what your true purpose really is? You should try journaling. At the very least, it will get you to a better feeling place than where you are right now. I've created a set of journal prompts to get you on your way to discovering who you truly are and where you want to go from here. My free download is called Journal Yourself to Joy, and it's available at shaunalee.com under Free Stuff. These are my tried and true journal prompts that will raise your energy, increase your positivity, and brighten your day. Download yours today.